Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much on behalf of the Poverty Action Lab. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to Research and Policy Design, the first JPAL Bihar Development Conference. We feel extremely privileged that you took out time from your busy schedules to come here, and we're also very happy to do the inaugural conference in the series in Bihar. I will be speaking to you for about 10-15 minutes. This is what I'll be talking to you about. I'll just give a quick brief outline of evaluations in the development field, the need for such evaluations, and what are the different types of evaluations, because that will be a nice segue into why JPAL was created and what we do. I'll briefly touch upon the history and the mission of JPAL, the current status of the organization, what is the policy outreach efforts that we are doing, and the motivation for today. And I'll end by giving you a little bit of conference logistics for the rest of the day. All of you hopefully belong today to one of these groups seen on the slide. The biggest player, the important players in the fight against poverty are the governments, the NGOs, and the development aid organizations, the multilateral organizations like the World Bank, and the bilateral organizations like DFID, and the foundations, both international as well as domestic. One of the key questions that I think all of you have faced at some point or the other in the course of your work is evaluations. Essentially, there are two broad objectives of evaluations. One is to increase accountability of an existing program, to try and figure out, did the program do what it was supposed to do? Did the program have a positive impact on the lives of the people that it was supposed to impact? And what are the reasons for the success or the failure of the program? But there's also some broader issues as to why we do evaluations, and that is to improve development policy in general. Learn basically what are the most effective ways to achieve a particular outcome, and are there common strategies that will succeed across these fields. The ultimate goal of evaluations is to first have a bigger impact on poverty, because an effective program will have a bigger impact on poverty than an ineffective one, obviously. And I think then it has a cascading effect in terms of greater commitments once the donors and other agencies see that poverty programs are having the desired effect. When you think about a new program or you think about existing programs, I think the logical framework that proceeds is essentially by first trying to assess what are the needs of the various constituents. And for the next few minutes, I'll take a simple example. Think about some poor children in any rural area of the country with low learning, low incomes, and the hypothesis is that one of the reasons for low learning outcomes is that they have very few books. They can't take these books back home from schools, or they don't get access to these books at home, and therefore they find it hard to learn. The logical framework for a program could then be that a particular NGO or the government purchases these books. They deliver these books for free to the public schools or to the people. The children use these books. They are able to study better. So that's your output. That's your outcome. But the final impact that you're really interested in is, did providing these free books lead to higher test scores? That's your outcome. And then, of course, the longer-term outcome that you could be thinking of is that did the higher test scores lead to better, higher income, a better career path for these people? The first few, if you see at the bottom of the slide, the first part is a typical needs assessment. The second part is process evaluation, which I think governments in particular are extremely familiar with. And the last part that the Poverty Action Lab really specializes in, and that we are here to talk to you, is about the impact evaluation part. Impact evaluations differ substantially from process evaluations in terms of the questions they ask. And once again, the reasons I just want to spend a couple of minutes here, because as I mentioned, I think historically governments, international agencies are extremely familiar with process evaluation. One of the key differences that while the process evaluations look at things like what are the number of books read in this particular example, or intermediate indicators, impact evaluations look at what are the final outcomes. As I had given the example, did the test scores of the children improve as a result of giving free books? They also can help tackle distributional questions. For instance, if you provided free books, who are the children who learn? Did you have an even impact on all the children? Were there some children who benefited more from those textbooks versus other children? Those are key questions which a process evaluation will not be able to answer, but are extremely important to answer in an impact evaluation. The main difference to think about it is that a process evaluation basically asks you, did all the children who were supposed to receive free books did actually receive the books for free? And if the answer to that is yes, then the process evaluation says this program is a success and stops there. But that's when the impact evaluation, if you do an impact evaluation, you could come out with an outcome which says, yes, the children did receive the free books, but the impact was better than we expected, as expected, or maybe lesser than expected. The main challenge with impact evaluations is that you need to create what we call the counterfactual. Essentially what that means is you need to imagine a world where if you had not intervened in the way that you intervened, if you had not introduced the program into the system the way you introduced it, where would the people have reached without that program? And that's an extremely challenging thing. It is like saying, you provided these free textbooks to the children. If you had not provided these free textbooks, where would the children's test scores have been? Traditionally, what people have done or tried to do to get over that is look at differences between groups compared. So you gave the books in one particular district of the state, and then you look at the test scores in that district, and you compare it to the test scores in a neighboring district where you did not provide books. And you say, okay, the difference between the test scores in the district where you provided books and the test scores in the districts where you did not provide the books can be attributed to program impacts. The problem with that particular methodology is that the two groups may be inherently very different from each other. I just want to take a second to welcome the Chief Secretary of Bihar. Thank you very much, sir, for coming in. The problem with that, as I was mentioning, is that the districts may be inherently different from each other. So for instance, if you have two districts, let's call them District A and District B, and you introduce program in District A, the reason you might have done that is because District A was actually the worst district in the state. So then you look at the learning outcomes in A and you compare it to District B, which might actually be one of the better performing districts, and you could come out with the conclusion that the free textbooks didn't really work when in fact they worked. The other traditional way that this has been done is by doing a before and an after analysis. You look at the test scores before you gave the free textbooks, and then you look at the test scores after you gave the free textbooks, and you say that the difference is because of the textbooks. There are two problems with that. One problem is that kids learn over time. Even if you did nothing with children, they are living in a social environment, they learn over time, and they attend school, and their test scores would have anyway increased. The other problem with that particular methodology is that you cannot isolate the effects of one program from other programs. So even while we were giving free textbooks in a particular districts, it might be that the national television is running a particular campaign to educate the people. It might be that which has a positive impact on test scores. On the negative side, it might be that during the same time there was heavy floods in that particular districts, which led to the children not being able to attend the school, and you will be underestimating the program effects. So those were the key problems, I think, which have deterred in the past people from doing impact evaluation. That is the space that the Poverty Action Lab tried to fill. JPAL was founded in 2003 by three MIT professors, Professor Abhijit Banerjee, Professor Esther Duflo, and Professor Senthil Mullainathan. The main reason, the logic for forming JPAL was that randomized evaluation can provide a solution for these difficulties and provide scientific evidence as to which programs work or not. You will hear a lot during the course of the day about randomized evaluation, then you will get multiple examples which will, I think, make this topic, I hope, much clearer by the end of the day. But just to give you a quick 2-minute thing about what the randomization does is, before the program starts, the program is randomly allotted to a subset of an eligible group who we call the treatment group. So for instance, if we stick with the example of the textbooks, in one particular district, if the district has, let's say, 10 blocks, then you flip a coin and you say that I'm going to allocate this program to only 5 of these particular blocks, completely randomly assigned. And you do not, and those particular 5 blocks are called the treatment group. And the rest of the 5 blocks in that particular district could then be the control group, the group against which you measure the differences in outcomes. This methodology is particularly useful for pilot programs when you're introducing new programs. It's especially convenient to do when the budget is limited. So if you only had budget for 5 blocks, then it's actually extremely convenient to do it because it's also then seen as fair that you did not make an arbitrary decision as to which block to go in, but it was just random draw of luck. It's extremely useful when the program is being phased in. And the last point is just what I said, that this might be seen as one of the fairest way to do it. If randomized evaluations are done correctly, and during the rest of the day we'll hear a lot about how they can be done correctly or not, then since the members of the 2 groups do not differ systematically at the outset of the experiment, then any difference between the changes in the outcomes for the 2 groups can be attributed to the program. So once again, here's your treatment group, the 5 blocks which received textbooks, and here are your 5 blocks which did not receive the treatment. Suppose the test score here goes from 10 to 20. Those are the ones which received the treatment. So there's a 10 percentage point increase in the test scores. Here's the other group, and they went from 10 to 15. So there's a 5 percentage point increase in the test scores. So the 10 percentage point increase minus the 5 percentage point increase, that difference of 5 percentage points can be attributed to the program. Switching to just a little bit of introduction about JPAL. JPAL is best seen as a network of 4 centers, those being at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the US, the IFMR, the Institute of Financial Management and Research in Chennai, which is also our South Asia office, at the Paris School of Economics, and the PSC office looks after our operations in Africa, and at PUC in Chile, which looks after our Latin America operations. JPAL's core mission is 5-fold. Obviously, the one that I talked to you about was to evaluate, but we recognize that this is a relatively new field, and we need to build capacity, especially in developing countries. So that's the circle at the bottom. So we try and help build capacity because we know that would lead to more evaluations. Then we then analyze the results of these evaluations to try and see which programs work and not work. We distribute the results. So a part of what we are doing today is this purple bar about distributing the results of some of our evaluations, with the final hope that all this leads to an improvement in the lives of the poor. Just in terms of who does these evaluations, JPAL has 44 professors in the network of affiliated researchers. And as you can see, the professors come from everywhere. Being based at MIT, of course, we have a big chunk from MIT. We have professors from Harvard, University of California System, University of Michigan, Columbia, Chicago, Yale, from Europe, London School of Economics, Paris School of Economics, among a few, and in South Asia at the IIM Calcutta. Many international development agencies in the past have increasingly now gone over the last few years to supporting randomized evaluation. This is a subset. On the left is some of the top US foundations. In the middle is the multilateral organizations like the World Bank, DFID, etc. And on the right, the big 8 relief organizations. By the way, almost every bit of information that I'm giving you is contained in this brochure that we have put together. JPAL has currently 235 ongoing or completed field projects in 38 countries, and as you can see from the map, we are all over the globe. India is one of our largest bases. Out of about those 235 projects, we have about 51 projects in India across 13 states. And after this, I'm going to be handing over to Gyan, who will talk a lot more in detail about our India projects. But as you can see, our evaluations have been tested in different contexts and in different surroundings. In terms of capacity building, the training thing that I talked to you about, our director of training, Mark, is here. We've gone from about training 59 people to about 162 in 2008, and I'm sure, Mark, that number is much higher for 2009. In terms of analyzing the evidence database, this is what we do. This is, we try and place the results of various outcomes on a single graph or on a single analysis to tell you that if you have limited resources, what is the best way to utilize those limited resources. In this particular example, if you wanted to induce an extra year of education, then is it better to put your money in an extra teacher? Is it better to put your money in deworming? Is it better to put your money in cash transfers? We also do a fair number of policy publications intended for your audience, which is exactly like yours. We also have a very robust website, which I actually encourage you to visit and encourage you to revisit in February. The entire website, starting in February, is going to be geared to policymakers trying to answer those questions. The last thing that we do, as I mentioned, is again work with governments, NGOs, international development organizations, and foundations to scale up effective programs. For instance, the Pratham evaluation that we'll be talking about later in the day has affected millions of children already.